9. Comparing using fractions and orders of magnitude. Source: howtostudykorean.com. Below is a list of vocabularies to be used in this lesson. Nouns.
화가,
Means painter.
밤중,
Means the middle of the night.
모음,
Means vowel.
자음,
Means consonant.
인삼,
Means ginseng.
성함,
Means a high respect way to refer to somebody's name.
필통,
Means pencil case.
베개,
Means pillow.
강당,
Means lecture hall, auditorium.
일종,
Means one type of.
성분,
Means ingredients, components.
앞니,
Means front teeth.
어금니,
Means molars.
자판기,
Means vending machine.
이민자,
Means immigrant.
연락처,
Means one's contact information.
시아버지,
Means a woman's father-in-law.
시어머니,
Means a woman's mother-in-law. Verbs.
비하다,
Means to compare to.
끼어들다,
Means to cut in front of, to butt in.
이민하다,
Means to immigrate. Adjectives.
특이하다,
Means to be unusual, to be unique. Adverbs and other words.
생전,
Means in one's whole life.
재작년,
Means 2 years ago, the year before last. Introduction. In this lesson, you will learn a variety of new words and grammatical principles that you can use in comparative sentences. Previously, way back in lesson 19, you learned how to make comparisons in sentences by using
보다,
In this lesson, you will learn how
비교하다,
and
에 비해,
can also be used to make comparisons. In addition, you will learn how to compare situations using orders of magnitude and fractions. Let's get started. To compare.
비교하다,
Before we get into anything too complicated, I want to talk about the word.
비교하다,
Briefly,
비교하다,
is an actual verb that means to compare, which makes it different than
보다,
where.
보다,
Is a particle that is attached directly to a noun that is being compared.
비교하다,
Is a verb that is conjugated at the end of a clause or sentence.
비교하다,
Can be used simply in sentences to mean to compare. For example,
저를 그 사람과 비교하지 마세요.
don't compare me with that person.
저의 시어머니가 저를 자기 딸과 항상 비교해요.
My mother-in-law always compares me to her daughter.
우리는 수업 시간에 이 화가를 옛날 화가하고 비교했어요.
During class, we compared this painter with painters from a long time ago. Notice that
와, 랑 니랑
or
하고
should be attached to the noun that the object is being compared with. You can use the grammatical principles that you learned in lesson 43 to create sentences that say if when one compares. For example,
저를 그 사람과 비교하면 저는 더 똑똑해 보여요.
if you compare me to that person, I look smarter.
이 차를 BMW와 비교하면 이 차는 훨씬 싸요.
If you compare this car with a BMW, this car is much cheaper.
이 베개를 저것과 비교하면 이 베개가 훨씬 부드러워요.
If you compare this pillow with that one, this pillow is much softer.
다른 건강식품과 비교하면 인삼이 몸에 더 좋아요.
If you compare ginseng to other health products, ginseng is better for your body. You could use
보다,
from lesson 19 to create essentially the same meaning as these sentences. For example,
저는 그 사람보다 더 똑똑해 보여요.
I look smarter than that person.
이 차는 BMW보다 훨씬 싸요.
This car is much cheaper than a BMW. The
비,
in
비교하다,
originates from the Chinese hanja character, which refers to a comparison. Another Korean word where you can find this character is
비하다 하다,
which can be used to create sentences similar in meaning and structure to those with.
보다,
I will talk about this in the following section. Comparing with
비하다,
is a verb that is similar in function to verbs like
대하다,
Lesson 13,
위하다,
Lesson 13, and
화나다.
Lesson 34. Let's look at how these words are used.
그 회계사는 정부에 대해 나쁜 말을 했어요.
That accountant said bad things about the government.
저는 친구를 위해 빵을 만들었어요.
I made bread for my friend.
이 문제에 관해 회의가 있을 것이다.
There will be a meeting relating to this problem.
비하다.
Is often used like these words, if you attach
에,
to a noun in place.
비해서.
After it, you can compare that noun to something else. For example,
우리 아들은 또래에 비해 훨씬 똑똑해요.
our son is much smarter compared to his peers.
한국어는 영어에 비해 모음이 더 많아요.
There are more vowels in the Korean language compared to English.
동물의 어금니가 앞니에 비해 더 강해요.
The molars of animals are stronger compared to their front teeth.
한국 인구는 캐나다 인구에 비해 조금 많아요.
The population of Korea is a little bit higher compared to the population of Canada.
우리 학교는 다른 학교에 비해 영어 선생님이 많아요.
Our school has more English teachers compared to other schools. Full stop. Orders of magnitude.
배,
Now that you know how to use
보다, 내 비해,
and
비교하다.
to make comparisons, I want to teach you how to compare things by orders of magnitude. For example, you already know how to create a sentence like this: I am stronger than you, but you haven't been able to state that you are stronger by a certain order of magnitude. For example, to create these types of sentences, I am twice as strong as you, or I am 3 times stronger than you. To create these types of sentences,
배,
acts a counter of orders of magnitude. Note that because we are counting things, we are counting orders of magnitudes. The number before
배,
should be a pure Korean number, just like any other counter. For example,
두 배,
twice, 2 times,
세 배,
3 times,
네 배.
4 times. You can use these constructions in sentences to compare things by a certain order of magnitude. For example,
두 배 더 강하다.
2 times stronger, twice as strong,
다섯 배 더 똑똑하다.
5 times smarter. These constructions can then go into sentences where appropriate. For example,
저는 저의 남동생보다 두 배 더 강해요.
I am twice as strong as my younger brother.
저는 재작년에 비해 돈을 두 배 더 벌고 있어요.
I am earning twice as much as I did the year before last.
이 자판기가 편의점보다 식품을 세 배 더 비싸게 팔아요.
This vending machine sells food products for 3 times the price, 3 times more expensively, of a convenience store.
우리 학교 강당은 제가 다녔던 중학교 강당에 비해 두 배 더 넓어요.
Our school's auditorium is twice as big wide as the auditorium of the middle school I used to attend.
캐나다 사람들은 그 나라 사람들보다 생전에 돈을 두 배 더 벌 수 있어요.
Canadians can earn twice as much money in their lives as people of that country.
우리 학교 학생들은 같은 나이의 다른 학교 학생들보다 다섯 배 더 똑똑해요.
The students at our school are 5 times smarter than students of the same age at different schools.
이 줄이 다른 줄보다 두 배 더 빨리 움직여서 사람들이 자꾸 이 줄에 끼어들어요.
This line is moving twice as fast as other lines, so people keep butting into this line. In practice, in English and Korean, you don't need to state what you are comparing to, as oftentimes constructions like twice as much or 10 times as much are compared to the implied present or original situation. For example,
그동안 집값은 10배 비싸졌어요.
during the time the price of went up tenfold.
우리는 두 배 더 빨리 가고 싶어요.
We want to go twice as fast.
밤중에 택시를 타면 가격은 세 배 더 비싸요.
If you take a taxi in the middle of the night, the price is 3 times more expensive.
지난 10년 동안 한국 생활 수준은 두 배 높아졌어요.
Over the past 10 years, the standard of living in Korea doubled. Sometimes you will see
으로,
added to.
배,
My wife feels that the example sentences above, without,
으로,
are equivalent in meaning to the sentences below, with.
으로.
If anything, she says that the sentences above would be more common. Nonetheless, these are grammatically possible.
저는 재작년에 비해 돈을 2배로 더 벌고 있어요. 이 자판기가 편의점보다 식품을 3배로 더 비싸게 팔아요. 우리 학교 강당은 제가 다녔던 중학교 강당에 비해 2배로 더 넓어요. 우리 학교 학생들은 같은 나이의 다른 학교 학생들보다 5배로 더 똑똑해요. 캐나다 사람들은 그 나라 사람들보다 생전에 돈을 2배로 더 벌 수 있어요. 이 줄이 다른 줄보다 2배로 더 빨리 움직여서 사람들이 자꾸 이 줄에 끼어들어요. 우리는 2배로 더 빨리 가고 싶어요. 그동안 집값은 10배로 비싸졌어요. 밤중에 택시를 타면 가격은 3배로 더 비싸요. 지난 10년 동안 한국 생활 수준은 2배로 높아졌어요.
If you want to use a number with a decimal, you can use the word
점,
in Korean, which literally translates to a point or spot. Take note of how the numbers below would be pronounced. 2.5 equals
2.5, 3.6, 3.6, 10.4, 10.4.
We can compare things by orders of magnitude using numbers with decimals. The numeral is typically written instead of the words. For example, writing 2.5 instead of
2.5.
when writing numbers containing a decimal. For example,
그 주식 가격은 2.5배로 올랐어요.
that stock's price went up 2.5-fold, comma. Now that you know how to compare things by orders of magnitude of whole numbers, it would be good to learn how to do this with fractions. I will talk about this in the next section.
Coréen fraction.
Using fractions to say 1/2, 1/3 or 1/4 in Korean is counterintuitive as an English speaker. When creating a fraction in Korean, the denominator, the number on the bottom, is said first, and the numerator, the number on the top, is said last. Between the two,
분의,
should be said. For example, 2,
분의 1,
1/2 4,
분의 1,
1/4 5,
분의 2,
2/5 3,
분의 1,
1/3, left double quotation mark,
분,
comes from the Chinese character, which, if you have been keeping up with your Hanja studies, you should know, refers to a part or division. Essentially, when you say something like 4,
분의 1,
you are literally saying one part of 4. A few things to note before we move on. 1. The Chinese numbers,
1, 2, 3, 4.
etc., are used when speaking these numbers. For example, 1/4 is read as,
4분의 1, 2, 5.
is read as,
5분의 2, 1, 3.
is read as,
3분의 1, 2에,
is typically pronounced as.
에.
In these constructions, you might want to check out our pronunciation notes of.
에.
To learn more about this phenomenon, Korean people get confused about this as well, and often think that
에.
should be attached to
분,
when they write it because that's the way they pronounce it. 3. The constructions above show how those fractions would be spoken in Korean. When writing those fractions, it could also be possible to write the fraction. 4. When referring to a portion of some noun as a fraction, the fraction is most commonly placed after the noun with
에.
attached to the noun to describe the fraction. I talk about this function of
에.
as a way to describe things in lesson 23. For example, left double quotation mark,
사람의 2분의 1,
1/2 of people,
저의 친구의 3분의 1,
1/3 of my friends,
이민자의 10분의 1.
1/10 of immigrants. Grammatically, it is also possible to place the fraction before the noun. In these cases,
에.
is typically added to the fraction so that it can describe the noun. For example, 2,
분의 1의 사람,
1/2 of people. 3,
분의 1의 친구,
1/3 of my friends. 10,
분의 1의 이민자.
1/10 of immigrants. Now that we know this, let's look at ways that fractions can be used in sentences. Comma. Imagine your friend gives you a massive plate of food, and you know that you won't be able to eat it all. You want to ask him to only give you a portion of the original amount of food. You could say that you will only eat a fraction of that amount by saying the following.
나는 그것의 3분의 1만 먹을 건데.
But, I'm only going to eat 1/3 of that. Notice here that the fraction we created is actually the object of the sentence. Below are more examples where the fraction is the object of a sentence, where the verb acts on the fraction.
저는 그 영화의 3분의 1을 봤어요.
I watched 1/3 of that movie.
화가가 전체 그림의 4분의 1을 벽에 그렸어요.
The painter painted 1/4 of the whole painting on the wall.
저의 친구 연락처의 10분의 1을 잃어버렸어요.
I lost 1/10 of my friend's contact information, comma. Imagine you want to state that a certain fraction of something is made up of one thing in particular. For example, if you want to state that there are a lot of immigrants in Canada, you can indicate the amount of people specifically using a fraction. For example,
캐나다가 특이한 게 인구의 1/4은 이민자예요.
the unique thing about Canada is that the population is 1/4 immigrants. Notice here that the fraction we created is actually the subject of the sentence. Below are more examples where the fraction is the subject of a sentence.
우유의 성분의 1호는 물이에요.
1/5 of the component ingredients of milk is water.
요즘의 학생의 3분의 1은 그 필통을 가지고 있어요.
These days, 1/3 of students have that pencil case.
아이폰이 일종의 컴퓨터인데 사람의 3분의 1이 핸드폰으로만 써요.
The iPhone is a type of computer, but 1/3 of people use it only as a phone.
많은 사람들이 이 수업에 등록했는데 등록한 사람의 성함의 5분의 1은 목록에 없어요.
A lot of people registered for this class, but 1/5 of the names of the people who registered aren't on the list, comma. If you want to compare something by a fraction of an order of magnitude, you can describe the fraction with the thing that is being compared with.
에,
Following that construction, you can attach
만큼,
which you learned about in lesson 72 to the fraction. For example,
저는 제 친구 용돈의 1이만큼 받아요.
I get half the amount of allowance as my friend. When saying 1/2, it would be more natural to simply use the word
반,
meaning half. However, in this lesson I am focusing on fractions. It would also be acceptable to change the style of the sentence and use one of the types of sentences that you have learned previously. For example,
제가 받는 용돈은 제 친구가 받는 용돈의 2분의 1이에요.
the allowance that I receive is half of that of what my friend receives. It would also be natural to simply create the opposite of this sentence and change the fraction to 2 times using.
배,
For example,
저의 친구는 저보다 용돈을 2배 더 받아요.
my friend gets twice the amount of allowance that I get. Below are more examples.
우리 집은 강남에 있는 집의 4분의 1만큼 싸요.
Our house is 1/4 cheaper than the houses in.
강남 우리 집값은 강남에 있는 집값의 4분의 3이에요.
The price of our house is 3/4 that of the price of houses in Gangnam. This is math related, and is confusing. Notice that I had to use different fractions to refer to the same thing in the 2 examples above. In the first example, I am using the adjective
싸다.
which means I am indicating that our house is 25% cheaper than houses in Gangnam. In the second example, if I use the fraction 4,
분의 1.
that would translate to the price of our house as 1/4 the price of houses in Gangnam, meaning our house is 75% cheaper than houses in Gangnam. However, by using the fraction 4,
분의 3.
in the second example, I am indicating that it is 75% of the price, but 25% cheaper, which is the same meaning as the sentence above. Confusing, I know, and dash.
제가 외국 사람이라서 친구들이 낸 돈의 1/3만큼 냈어요.
Because I am a foreigner, I paid 1/3 of the amount of the money that my friends paid.
제가 외국 사람이라서 제가 낸 돈은 친구들이 낸 돈의 1/3이에요.
Because I am a foreigner, the amount, money, that I paid is 1/3 the amount, money, of that of my friends, comma. Korean people would usually not use a fraction when talking about distance, if referring to a distance in kilometers and the measurement was smaller than 1 kilometer. Instead of using a fraction they would refer to it in meters. For example, half a kilometer equals 500.
미터 500미터.
For distances between whole numbers of kilometers, they would use a decimal. For example, 1.5 kilometers equals 1.5.
킬로미터 1.5킬로미터.
For example,
우리는 어제 가게까지 1.5킬로미터를 걸었어요.
we walked 1.5 kilometers to the store yesterday, comma. That's it for this lesson. For more info, please visit howtostudiokorean.com.